next speaker, and she first dreamt about being a CA and working in a UK when she was just 12 years old. And she was in high school. It's been quite a journey, but definitely worth it. Currently working at Mazars in UK as assistant adult manager. Prior to moving to UK, she worked at KPMG South Africa and KPMG in Netherlands. Now I welcome our next speaker, Namos Moya.
Thank you so much, Nevia, for the warm welcome. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for having me. I'd just like to thank Karen for the wonderful talk she had. I like what she said about creating and not just speaking things into negative, but actually speaking things into existence and being our own life's alchemy. And I would just like to talk about this summit today in a summary. For me, I find it to be a very special one, as not only is it International Women Power Summit, but it is also a summit of women who've overcome a pandemic that brought the world to its knees, the fighters of this world, our future leaders. For those that I haven't had the pleasure of meeting, happy to meet you online. Is I've been said as well to say I first dreamt of being a chartered accountant and working in the UK when I was 12 years old, just starting high school. And it's been a journey with all its ups and downs. And when I look back to the moment when it all began, I'm reminded of the excitement and the anxiety I felt at the time. I remember how I knew the decision of what happens in my life was ultimately mine and no one else. And the biggest realization was that I was accountable for my life essentially and how it unfolded, and had to understand. Um, I had to make my family understand how that would fit into my life. So my journey began in a small farming town in Chirezi, Zimbabwe, where everyone knew my name. And when I was in high school, my parents struggled to put us through school to get a good education. And this applied a lot of pressure on me to succeed because they had to struggle to raise three kids. And that's something that has now become very passionate about me, because I realized that I was fortunate to get an education. Whereas there are some kids, especially where I come from in Africa, where a child, if it's a woman, is always considered most of the time to be a bride and not essentially a child, to say one day they're going to grow up and get married. So there's not a lot of emphasis on the girl child's education, which is something that should be incorporated in our women empowerment policies. And I think just to take you back, I think the pressure was a lot in me, that even when I got to university, I would study through sweat and tears. And I remember in my final year, I was in tears literally, as I almost had to repeat my final year because of boyfriend problem. And that is when I decided to never let anyone or anything take away my dream from me. And the dream was there at 12, and now I have finally or succeeded to actually be a chartered accountant, and I've been working in the UK for the past 3 months. And now for me, the current goal is now to evolve and become a woman in leadership and finance going forward. So getting my CA meant a lot, is I think I was overcome by the emotions that was involved in just achieving the dream. And I can almost think, or sometimes I think to myself or hear that some people can say, oh, how lucky you are to have achieved this. And I'm thinking that at this point, I am personally going through something that's very difficult. While thing that I'd like to assure you is that those times will end. While it might not be apparent how it's going to end, each person has to go through certain obstacles that sort of shape them to become the person that they would like to be ultimately, or they're meant to be. Now, in the past 2 years, we found ourselves in a unique and different circumstances with the COVID pandemic, and they've taught us to say all the opportunities that we had in the past were not as forthcoming. There were no retention bonuses, there were no promotions, And while this may feel very painful, we do need to remember that we have a break that is coming up. All of it, we might have to get used to living with the way things are, but things are going to change. And I'm just fortunate to say that I've had support through other women who have supported me, firstly in my family. My mother was very supportive, and I was surrounded by sisters who were very supportive, and I've had to learn to make decisions out of my hopes and dreams instead of my fears. And that's one thing that I would like to encourage us as women to say we should stop worrying about everything and just start realizing that worry takes away from the joy of today, and having an outlook of the forward in life to say things are going to work out and speaking that into existence. Now, after I've moved here, or even back in South Africa, after I qualified as a chartered accountant, I found myself more oftentimes as the only young female, Black, or even African person in the boardroom. And sometimes a combination of this. And in the beginning, it used to be awkward, but I realized along the way that I added a little bit of flair and dynamic to the boardroom. And as women, it's something that we should always embrace. Diversity is something that we should always embrace and speak up whenever something comes up and just say out your mind, because that's how we make an impact in the world. And just in conclusion, I'd like to say to each and every woman who is part of this, and men as well, if we have, as we move on, or as you move on to the next phase of your life, you're going to encounter a lot of hurdles which will be uncomfortable. During these times, I'd like you to dig deep in within yourselves and just know that the people that have been there for you in the past will stay in your corner. The beating will be temporary, and you'll be able to face another round in the ring. You are different, you are you. Embrace these qualities as you forge on. Remember, you're not here to be average, you are here to be awesome. And as a member of the Procrastination Club, one of my mantras is just do it. So if you feel strongly about something, just do it. Not to take anywhere away from Nike. Do not understate the set of skills that you've acquired. Do stand store. Take pride in who you are as a woman. Go eat that oyster of your world, which has now become available to you. I wish everyone a bright and prosperous future filled with good luck. Thank you.